screenwriting lab. I think some of our fellows are here, so shout out to them. As an alum of our screenwriting lab ourselves, I just wanted to hear how you feel you've grown and evolved as a writer from Spa Night to Wedding Banquet.
I think I think I'm more willing to take risks. I'm more willing to experiment. Like Spa Night. I'm very proud of that film. But I did have a very kind of precise vision for it, which I think was really helpful, especially kind of at that budget level. But I think it also made me scared to maybe push on some of the emotional boundaries of the film, and that was something that in the Wedding Banquet I kind of had to let the emotions free. That's what these characters wanted, and that's the genre, of the rom-com, and so wearing my heart on my sleeve, it kind of required a certain trust in the process, and that maybe I swung too hard, on one draft, but I can adjust it, I can figure it out. I think when I was writing Spa Night, I was sometimes just even afraid to try. And so I think it's just that trial and error, it's the process that I trust more.
Amazing. When you wrote it, did you have your actors in mind? And how did you put together this incredible cast that we saw today?
I love our ensemble. They really feel like a family, and that was so important to us. I did not write for specific actors because it's like a superstition of mine. I'm just afraid to jinx it. I don't want to write for someone and fall in love with that particular character, and then find out that the actor doesn't want to do it, can't do it, whatever it is. And so, James and I had a more kind of pure process with character, but then of course we had to, find the actors, and so we worked with our casting director Jenny Ju, who is incredible. She did casting for Bong Joon-ho on Snowpiercer, on Okja, and it was a challenge. I told her, I was we have to find this Asian Avengers cast, and it has to be multi-generational, and they have to be good at the comedy and the drama, and there's 8 of them, is that okay? And she was let's do it. She was just so excited about the screenplay, and we talked about the kind of central, the kind of core of each character, and so if we needed to, we could adjust the the specificities. And so Min's grandmother, played by the incredible Yoon Jung, legend of Korea, I used to call her the Meryl Streep of Korea, but then I heard from her son that she has an incredible gay following in Korea, and so now we say the Barbra Streisand. And that role was initially written as Min's mother and grandmother, but we really felt that Yoon Jung could embody that role. And when we sent her the script, she read it and she was very humble and said to us, I feel a little old playing this character's mother. What if I played grandmother? And we started talking about that and the kind of potential dynamics, and I could see this kind of actor's inspiration in her eyes. And as a director, when you see that, you're just oh, she's gonna do the movie, and it felt really exciting, and I kept wanting to stoke that. The other incredible thing about Yoon Jung is that I was nervous to meet her because she's a Korean woman of a certain generation, and I don't often know how people of a certain generation in Korea feel about gay people. And she told me that her elder son is gay, and that when he got married, she threw him his wedding, and that he was a big fan of Fire Island, and told her that she should do this movie, and so she told me that she wanted to do this for him, and I got so emotional, and I was now I need to make this great, And so, she was such a big part of, kind of getting this ensemble together. Bowen Yang, I'd worked with him on Fire Island, and I just love how he captures this like indecision, internal conflict, and does it with so much sympathy and so much humor. Lily Gladstone, I had my meeting set up with her the day after the Golden Globes, and I was like, oh, producers, if she wins the Golden Globe, like, she's gonna cancel this meeting. Like, she's gonna be like partying with Leonardo DiCaprio in Vegas. And she won the Golden Globe for Killers of the Flower Moon, and then the next day confirmed the meeting and in the morning. And so then I went in the afternoon and I brought her a bouquet of flowers, and I was like, I would have understood if you wanted to cancel. And she said, awards are awards. I'm an actor, I wanna work, and I love your script. And I was like, what a real one, and I had seen her in like interviews where she got to kind of be more herself, and she's such a goofball, and I love being able to show that side of her in this film. Kelly Marie Tran, I think it's so hard what she's doing, balancing the comedy and the drama, and she's so kind of committed, and was kind of going through this coming out process while we were making the film, and was just so willing to utilize that for the character. And then Hangi-chan, I had seen him in a couple of BL shows, which are boys' love shows in Korea. And you can imagine what that is. Gay dramas, and I remember meeting him on Zoom, and you know how some people have golden retriever energy? Hangi-chan has poodle energy. And I was like, oh, Min is a poodle, we have to work with him. And then of course the legendary Joan Chen, right? I was really nervous approaching her because she had already played the mother of a queer daughter in a classic, Saving Face, which is one of my favorite films. And I was lucky that she didn't just look at the just the simple character description, but read the entire screenplay and really saw this fun, very nuanced character, actually, that rambunctious, sassy, kind of over-enthusiastic mother, but then also having to show this process and growth and intimacy, and I don't think anybody could have done that as beautifully as Joan. And just to think that we had a legend of Chinese cinema in Joan Chen and a legend of Korean cinema, Yoon Yo-jung, and getting to work with them in scenes together, when could that ever happen except for in an Asian American cross-cultural film? And it's just come on, the ensemble is, they were so generous with each other and had so much vulnerability, that they really built these bonds in such an organic way. And it was.
Did you have rehearsal, or how did you foster building the bonds?
I had Lily Gladstone and Kelly Marie Tran for a 15-minute rehearsal before their first day of shooting. It was tight. It was tight. What we did was we had a lot of conversation. During pre-production, my producer Joe Piro, production designer Charlotte Royer, and cinematographer Kijin Kim and I, we went down to Seattle to have a conversation with Lily and talk about Seattle. And Lily grew up in Seattle, and what was supposed to be a 1-hour lunch turned into a 5-hour tour of Seattle, where she gave us personal history and indigenous history. She asked me if it was okay if the character were indigenous, and wanted to rename the character. Initially, the character was named Liz, and Lily was like, it feels a little on the nose to play a lesbian named Liz. She was like, what if we named her Lee? as a nod to Princess Angeline, the daughter of Chief Seattle, the Duwamish chief that Seattle is named after. And I was like, that's great, that's beautiful. And we talked about how that might, bubble up into the screenplay in small ways, and how it would bring in this theme of stewardship and home, where we belong. I thought that was such a special choice. And then, I asked her while we were driving around Seattle, like, where do people go when they get drunk and like want to grab a bite? And she was like, oh, they grab a bag of dicks. And so we put that into the movie. What's very funny is that in now naming Liz Lee, we then have this couple named Angela and Lee, which is very fun. And then one of our
not going to my head at all.
And then one of our co-producers was like, oh, that's such a fun nod to the original film. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, Angela and Lee, Ang Lee? Ang Lee? And I was like, oh God, like not even intentionally done, But there was just something about this very organic process that I wanted to have with our actors so that they could take some ownership of the characters, because I think that's when they are the most passionate and are the most excited to play these roles. And so, with our brief rehearsal time, like I had each couple create a secret that they would have just for themselves that they would never tell me. And then I had them create a secret from each other that only they would know and not tell the other person.